In this episode, we explore something many people experience but do not always name: how trauma, attachment, and our inner worlds can influence the way we relate to others. Very happy to welcome Rozalina Angelova. Rozalina is a psychotherapist based in Zurich. Applaud you for this great book, The Monkeyfish and Other Truths. I've read it. I found it very, very interesting and a very good read that I think people can really read again and again. It's the type.
But when I tell a fairy tale and I put it in a symbolic, metaphorical way, it really touches.
A warm welcome to BrightBond, the podcast about real human connections across generations, cultures, and everyday life. I'm Patrick Duriaux, and here we share real conversations that leaves you with practical ideas to create more connection. Today's episode is The Stories We Carry Shape the Way We Connect. In this episode, we explore something many people experience but do not always name: how trauma, attachment, and our inner worlds can influence the way we relate to others. Why do some people deeply long for connection, yet struggle to trust it? Why do some relationships feel safe, while others awaken fear, distance, or confusion? And how can stories help us better understand ourselves and reconnect with others? And to speak about this great topic today, I'm very happy to welcome Rozalina Angelova. Rozalina is a psychotherapist based in Zurich. Originally from Bulgaria, she studied psychology in Berlin, Germany, spent 1 year in London on a scholarship after completing her master's in psychology, and later completed a psychotherapy training in Zurich. Having lived between cultures over 25 years, her work is deeply shaped by questions of identity and connection to oneself and to others. She specializes in ADHD, trauma, and relationships. She recently published her first book in German, Affenfisch und andere Wahrheiten, which is translated into English as Monkeyfish and Other Truths. The book presents fairy tales from the therapy room for ordinary people, using metaphorical storytelling so that readers can discover their own story within them. Through her work, Rozalina helps people explore the hidden emotional patterns that shape their relationship, their sense of self, and their ability to feel seen, safe, and truly connected. Rozalina, it's a great pleasure to have you here on BrightBond. Welcome to BrightBond.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Pretty well
You're most welcome.
summarized.
You're most welcome, Rozalina. As always, I'd just like to ask you, Rozalina, at the beginning, how old are you today and what gives you energy at the moment?
I am 44 still. Soon in June, I will be 45. And energy, yeah, at the moment, it's actually my book that I published. It's like something that inspires me, that I get a lot of feedback from people that are not my patients. For the first time, this thing that started as something very intimate in the therapy room got out in the world. And and this gives me this project that I see it happening, going out there, gives me a lot of energy and inspiration.
Okay, that's great to hear. And first of all, I'd like to applaud you for this great book, The Monkeyfish and Other Truths. I've read it. I found it very, very interesting and a very good read that I think people can really read again and again. It's the type of book for our listeners where you can really go back to the stories and interpret it in different ways. But my first question for you about the book is, why therapeutic fairy tales for adults?
Yes, it's simple and then more complex than we think. Sometimes when it's just said to your face something, it's too difficult. When I tell to a patient, to a client, uh you are do you realize how you are masking or doing this and that in your life, they will be nodding, somehow understanding. But when I tell a fairy tale and I put it in a symbolic, metaphorical way, it really touches more emotions, and then it's easier to understand it with the heart and with the whole body, not only like cognitive, yeah, I know, but what can I do about it?
Mm. Yeah, we will speak a bit more about that. I think the techniques or tools you use are very interesting. And again, some of the stories I could really relate to. And also, I could see other people around me who
Mm-hmm.
could be very much mirrored in some of the tales and some of the stories you mentioned in your book.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very,
Yeah,
very interesting.
it's
Um,
real stories, real
yeah,
people.
exactly. That's really authentic, real people. That's very interesting. I also wanted to ask you how we spoke sometimes about trauma or about attachment. So, how does trauma or how do trauma and attachment shape the way we connect with other later in life? We hear sometimes, and I
Mm-hmm.
coach people as well. Sometimes people have difficulty to connect with other people, and I wanted to ask you, as a therapist, as a professional,
Mm-hmm.
how do trauma and attachment shape the way we connect with other later in life?
Yeah, it's very important, the relationships and the attachments and the trauma that we experience as children. This is the blueprint how we relate afterwards to others. And we don't remember everything, but it is crucial. And yeah, I for example, I can think of the one of the fairy tales that is there, the invisible eye band for a boy that learns that when he's quiet and his mouth is shut, he receives love. And then later on in life, he finds he starts his own family, and he is not able to communicate his emotions, his needs. And this makes it very difficult to really, when you have forgotten and you haven't been allowed to talk, because in this moment when the little boy found that there is this bandage to put on his mouth, the parents start loving and giving more attention. So this is one way to look at it.
That's very interesting. And you spoke about attention, which is also, as you say, important for child, also important for adults. And
Mhm.
I wanted also to link that with being close to people. I hear again and again from people around me that people want to be closer to other people, or they want some sort of closeness. And
Mhm.
yet, most of the time, they feel sometimes uncomfortable when it actually happens, when they are ready to be closer to someone and they happens, they kind of step back sometimes. So, is that also linked with that story you just told us with the child who need to be
Mhm.
silent?
It is linked with this story. It is linked, funnily, with another as well about this a girl this time with the blindfold.
Mhm.
This girl receives a blindfold at the age of 5. This is just it could be any age, but it's a little girl. And then she doesn't realize when people are coming too close, when people are hurting, and it's not allowed even, because this blindfold is given by her mother out of love. And from love, she carries it. And then the closeness gets painful. So this is as well one type of attachment trauma that we realize, and the boundaries that we don't learn to see and to practice saying no, and then being is not possible, but then it's painful.
Yeah.
That closeness gets painful.
Yeah, that's a very interesting, again, because it comes from your therapeutic room. So you really see people sharing that with you. And that's really interesting to see how you manage to actually give them tools and tips to try to overcome. There's maybe some sort of defensive mechanism, I assume, when people come too close to them. And I wanted to ask you, because of course you see a lot of people every day, you have a lot of patients. In society, I wanted to have your point of view. I hear things around me as well, but I wanted to have your point of view as a therapist who see a lot of people. A lot of people, again, might work totally fine. They might totally be functional in their day-to-day activity and their jobs, but they feel disconnected inside. And I hear that story again and again. I wanted to ask you, as a therapist, as someone who sees so many people, why do you think that is so common nowadays?
Yeah, there are many reasons, and we can come back to the child experiences, but we are as well not connected to ourselves. This is kind of the main reason. We learn to perform, to look good, and to look outside. And in this way of looking what is good, what is accepted, and all these things, we are losing the connection with ourselves. And I always say to my patients, the inner world is shown then into the outer world. If you have a good connection to yourself, the connections and the relationship with the others will improve. So I'm working a lot on this self-love, self-care, which we hear all the time, but it's not about buying some clothes or doing some spa. It's more putting the boundaries, keeping the word to yourself. When you say, I'm gonna exercise, and then you don't, you are abandoning yourself and you are betraying yourself, lying to yourself. And we are doing it all the time when we are people pleasing as well. When you ask me, hey, do you want to come to this party with me tonight? And I'm actually tired. And then I like, yes, I will come, because I think, okay, if I say no, maybe you will not invite me again and I will look boring. And at the same time, what I really want, and if I respect and love myself, I will say no, because I need to take care of myself. This is how we disconnect from us, from ourselves, and then that it goes on and expresses in the outside connections.
It's very interesting what you say. You spoke about giving a promise. And you're right. We oftentimes give a promise to other people. We commit to, as you say, a party or an event. And even though we are maybe very tired from the week, we still go because we give that promise. But it's very interesting what you said. We give our promise to ourselves as well. And we need probably also to, from time to time, listen to the promise we do and we give to ourselves, like going to the gym, as you said. I promise that I will go on the gym on a Friday or Saturday. And then sometimes we're too tired when we don't go, and we kind of break the promise to ourselves, if I understood you well, right?
Yeah. This is the thing, because we learn it somehow to please our parents, our teachers, and then forget what we actually need, feel, and say to ourselves. Then it's not important. And this is going again back to this childhood experiences. It's so deep and so important. And I work a lot with with these things.
Yeah, it's interesting because it takes also, as you said, if I take the example of the child who was asked to be silent, it probably takes a long time to rewire the brain of the person because all the childhood that
Yeah.
person has heard be silent. So I wanted to speak about the tools that you explain and you use in your book, and that I know you use also in your therapy, which is very, very interesting and very powerful. It's really the tool of, to some extent, storytelling or using your tales, which helps people understand their own emotion when they struggle, sometimes to explain that, as you say, directly, or to hear it directly. So can you tell us a bit more on how that works with those storytelling and those tales? How do they help you patients to actually sometimes understand what's going on with them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, it helps because it gives you the opportunity to detach, to see something from, like, not from it's me, we are talking about me, my problems, and it's very emotional. People feel very stuck in their thing, and then it's like, okay, just imagine this story. There is this prince with the hole in the heart, and then they're like, they get away from the critical mind, from the mind that is protecting them in a way. And we usually develop these protective coping mechanisms in the childhood, and they were useful then, but they're not so useful now. And this way, I'm switching it off or putting it on silent. So now we are not criticizing. Now we are not evaluating myself, my story. How do I look like? I just listen to a fairy tale. I just listen about a fish with a monkey costume. This is the title of the book, and and then it clicks. Then it can, because then the subconscious is working, then the emotions are switched on. It's like watching a movie, because this is what I really like it as well, with these fairy tales, and that's why I put it in the book. We are not reading enough now, and our brain stops producing images because we see images all the time. We are bombarded by YouTube, Netflix, and everything, and books are, and stories. Even when we listen, it's just your imagination, your creative, your subconscious. It's different layers. They start working, and you start connecting to yourself in a different way and getting there.
I wanted to also ask you, how do you compose or you write those tales? Are they coming live whilst you are seeing
Mm.
patient, or do you write them after? Or how did they come about, actually, the creation of those tales? It's very interesting.
All of them, they came in the session,
Mm.
because this is how my brain works. It's a little bit, I do it for myself too, because when I listen to the struggles, and I get this picture, I try to simplify it as well for them, because recently I produce new stories every time, or at least a small metaphor. There was this person who was giving everything for his family, and now the kids are grown up. The wife is capable of working, but is not. And then he's like, I'm tired, I need to take care of myself. And I'm like, yeah, just do it. But it doesn't arrive. And then I'm like, yeah, imagine there is a beggar, and he gives all that he has to someone, and at the end it's like he gets very, very little, because he all the time is taking stuff, working for it. And if he decides to stop giving, is he a bad person? No, he isn't. And then it makes the click, okay, I'm not the bad person. Because people always, even though it's like detaching, they know it's about themselves. They can, all the time, they can make the link. And this is the beauty of this.
I think it's fascinating, if I may say, that you're able to create stories at the same time that you listen to a patient. So it's require a very creative mind and a very good listening skills to do both at the same time. So I found that fascinating, I have to say. Rozalina, compliment on that you managed to do that at the same time.
Thank you.
During your session. It's great. And it reminded me as well, I've seen, you spoke about film, and I've seen a Netflix series called Stutz that was produced by an actor that I really like, Jonah Hill. And Jonah Hill was, I think, brave to speak about his own session with his psychotherapist, Phil Stutz. I found that very, again, interesting because he exposed the tools that Phil Stutz is using. And Phil Stutz is also using drawing. So he's writing and drawing little cards that he gives to the patients. And that really helped them. And when I read your book and when you told me how you use your stories, I could really remember that story of Phil Stutz and Jonah Hill. So those tools, I think, are a great way to help people. I'm sure that you have great success with your patients because, again, as you said, they can detach listening to your stories. So
Yeah.
I really, you're the first person actually I've heard using a tool like this one apart from apart from Phil Stutz. So again, congratulations on that. I've found that.
But I'm using as well cards. I have as well like pictures and a lot of symbols. I have a box that is full of like small items, a coin, a balloon, like a little dog, or a lot of things. And then people are creating as well their story with this and their problem, and then we are looking for solutions. And this is again one way to detach and to switch off this critical mind that has no solution. There is no solution sometimes when you think in the logic and put a lot of stops for in front of yourself. This is not possible, this is not. And then when you take like a monkey and a stone and then a sign of stop, and then you like, this is my problem. And then I say, okay, take some more symbols to show me the solutions. Then you take a sun or something else, and then it's like, this is the solution. And I'm like, okay, now detach from everything and think, how is this monkey that is representing you gonna reach there? And I'm working, for example, with these many sessions.
Okay. With the same story, you mean? Or
With the same story, with the same symbols.
Yeah, that's really that's also what I really like about your book is that you can read the same story and discover another angle about yourself or another part that you didn't maybe click with in the first time you read it. So that's why I was saying I think it's a book you can really read again and again and again.
Yeah.
And the format is great, I have to say, because personally, if I'm tired and I see a book of 500 pages, I usually fall on my nose before I finished reading page one. I think yours is great because it's not too short, not too long, and it's well written. It's really.
I have it here. Like
There you go.
you
Nice,
can.
yeah. It's between 60, 70 pages. It's really.
Yeah, it's 13 fairy tales.
Yeah. Small in number of pages, but very powerful on the content, and it really picks the brain. I've read already a few stories a few times, and I discovered again different things. I also wanted.
What is your favorite story?
Well, I don't have really one favorite, but I took some notes on your books, and I think there's four stories that I could either directly relate to or hear people around me. I like the monkeyfish, of course, the first story, which is great. the lion couple, it was also an interesting one with the couples. I hear a lot of stories about couples who are sometimes struggling around them. I related to the knee that ran too much because I played basketball a lot and I did a lot of sport. And I know a lot of sportive around me as well who have sometimes maybe pushed too much on their bodies. And I like the end when you say the person ask or say sorry to the body actually, and that was very I think powerful, and I could relate to that one as well. And the last story I think was really beautiful as well, with the tree that grew on water. I think there's different again way to read it and to understand it, but with the roots and the way the tree grows, and there's the part where there's a lot of wind, and it's also the environment. Is it the environment who's shaking you, or is it the roots who are not well ingrained in the ground? And that can really relate in different levels to many people, and on leaders as well. Leadership is also part of growing and helping others to grow. So I could relate also professionally in those stories as well. I cannot say one because again, I will probably read again your book, some stories, and maybe another one would be my favorite one. But those four really resonated with me, I have to say.
Yeah, interesting, especially like how you, and this I really like when people are telling me what they see in the stories, because it's not always what the story was initially meant for. And that makes it like, to me, like, wow, it's much more than that. It's people are seeing themselves really in so many different ways, because especially the monkeyfish, I heard now maybe 4 different versions of what is it about. And and I'm not gonna tell what is it about, but because everybody can discover for themselves something, and actually you discover your own truth and yourself inside of those.
Exactly. I think that's the power of using imagination and tales. As you just said, everyone can interpret the story with their own knowledge, their own stories. So it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Great. I also wanted to, we spoke a lot about the patient or the people who come to see you, and we spoke about the tool, which are very important and powerful. I also wanted to think a bit about, the people around, the people who are coming to see you, the friends, the family of the people who are coming to see you. Sometimes I also hear some people want to help, but they don't know how to help. So if we think about, partners, friends, family members, when someone they love finds connection difficult, how can we, or what would you say to them? How can they help their loved ones?
Yeah, always is interesting about this helping people, because first of all, to help someone, this person needs to as well be open and want the help. We cannot push ourselves and help. It's actually not the productive way. And in this one, I'm thinking it is, you can look in one of the fairy tales again. It's the prince with the hole in the heart. And it's seeing this hole and not trying to push and feel it and make everything, but just sit next to this hole, next to this emptiness, next to the pain, and hold the hand and just be there. And just be open, and this is more than enough. And showing, if someone is struggling with connection, just being sitting next to the person, sitting next to this black hole, it takes as a start, and can be very, very healing. This is what sometimes I am as well in the position of being the helper. I'm not the family, and this is a good thing, because I can be more detached, but it's helpful just to have witness and to have more understanding rather than just do this, just do that. This is a tip. Go out, meet someone. Did you do this? And this is causing more resistance and bigger pain than actually helping.
Okay, that's a very good tip. Sounds not too difficult to apply, but I guess it is again important to be present for people and, as you say, be next to them. And sometimes it's not so easy. We think it's easy, but it's not always easy.
It's not easy. It's not
Exactly.
easy when you see something. This is a lot. I have a lot of patients as well telling me about some family members, and I want to help and I want, and they don't listen. And it's like, it's just, yeah, just being there and observing somebody struggling and being there and waiting for them to, with the stretched hand, I'm here. If you want, take it, but not pushing.
Yeah.
It's very difficult.
Okay. Also, yeah, thanks for that. I think it's really important to remind people that it's not always easy. And also, when we see people suffering or struggling, sometimes it's not, of course, is easy, or it's not easy to witness that. Of course, as simple as that. And sometimes it's difficult to try because you want to try to help, and maybe you don't know how. You don't have the tool, and yeah. But that, as you said, be present is already a gift and already very important to stay next to the person. Yeah, very interesting.
Yeah.
Thanks for that tip. I think it will resonate with a lot of our listeners today. I also wanted to, I read recently an information which was interesting, a bit, yeah, striking, I would say. I wanted to have your view as a professional on that. As you know, I've been researching and also studying cross-generational connection or connection between generations. And I've read an article from Lara Augustine from the Journal of Family Research. She did a research about can people who are disconnected or lonely adults, can that be passed on to their children? And can their children, when they become adults or young adults, being also feeling lonely because of that influence? So her studies shows that to some extent, the social activity and the social interrelationship they have with their family and their parents can actually influence also being lonely. I wanted to have your point of view on that passing on. So is there a new view, a new experience? Is there sometimes possibility that you can actually pass on this connection without realizing it to other people? Children was an example, but it could be anyone else, right?
Yeah. This is we are connected. Even if we feel disconnected, we are connected. There is the generational trauma we talk a lot about, and I have seen it and I see it still all the time. And passing things to children, this is the beginning of our conversation, the trauma and the attachment, and the little boy and the little girl with the with the blindfold, with the bandage, talking about the niece that run too much as well. It's like there is this girl who learns that being successful means to run, and from where she learns it, from her parents, from the people around, from the grown-ups. So we learn a lot as children how the world functions from our environment and from the older generation, because they are the first source of information, of love, of life, of everything. So, and this is learning by observation, and still there is something kind of on a deeper level, and this is this generational bond and connection with people that we don't even know. And this is the trauma that is passed on generation, and it can be really this attachment. Somebody, for example, has difficulties to build a lasting relationship, and they're like struggling and they don't know, and it's they have no explanation, and then we look back in their generational stories, and it turns out it comes a lot from these family constellations, that there was a person within the family who as well never got married and never was accepted by the family, by society, and was very lonely. And these people, they feel lonely long time, most of their lives, until they start looking into where this could be coming from. And it can be coming from feeling deeply connected and loyal to somebody that we don't even know. So these things can be passed on, of course, in different layers, different levels.
Yeah, very interesting and very powerful. And as you said, it can touch a lot of people without realizing it. That's the thing, right? As you say,
Yeah.
comes from parents, grandparents, some generations,
Yeah,
actually.
yeah,
Quite
yeah.
interesting. Yeah. Okay, that's great. Thanks for the insight, Rosalina.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you the last question of the podcast to finish on a positive note, the BrightBond tip. I always ask my guests if they can give a little tip to our listeners. So if you could maybe give a little tip, a small step that people can maybe take this week or next week to build safer, more honest connection in their lives, what would you tell them?
To connect first with themselves, make a break, breathe in and out, check in. How do I feel? Do I feel tired? Do I want to do this, or just I say yes to something that I actually don't want? To check in, what did I promise today to myself, and just do it for themselves. Just this, there are little steps, like the drop in my plant that I have here in my room of water that it can grow, the rose of Jericho, you know. This is a very nice thing if your listeners, and I think especially because it's a generational podcast with many different generations, and some people are like, yeah, it's too late for me to do whatever. I'm too old, or I'm too broken, or anything. Like, it just takes little steps, and it can grow again. Everything.
Great. Thank you. A very positive message. I agree with you. It can touch everyone in any generation, specifically when you use imagination, and tales are about imagination, and everyone can imagine. So it can really touch everyone at any point in time in their life. So I really want to thank you so much, Rosalina, for your very much interesting insights. And it was really deeply human. I think this conversation very important as well on the topic we touched today. And it was great to have you as a professional, as a therapist. I'd like to maybe summarize a little bit this episode. What I take, I think, from today is that connection is not only about meeting the right people, it's also about understanding, as Rosalina say, ourselves, understanding our stories, maybe our wounds, maybe our attachment patterns we carry with us. Sometimes it's difficult to connect with people, as we said. It's not always easy. So it can be something learned. Sometimes it's protective. Sometimes it's self-mechanism or defensive mechanism. So sometimes it's this part which is important to address before trying to connect. I really like this episode, I have to say. The story we carry shape the way we connect because, again, by understanding the stories that Rosalina explained with her book, understanding ourselves, we begin to create the possibility of new connection with more safety, more honesty, more compassion. For those who are listening, again, listen to Rosalina tips today. Try this out this week, next week, as she said, to do a little step. How do I connect better with others? And maybe before doing that question, maybe ask yourself, what story am I carrying into that relationship? That could be also a good question for ourselves. I'd like to also thank Rozalina and her book. Congratulations again on your book.
Thank
It's
you.
a great book. The Monkeyfish.
The next one is coming soon.
Okay, very good. So we can do another episodes on the next book very soon. The Monkeyfish and Other Truths. For our listeners, if you want to read this great book, which I really advise you to do, it can really help. You can read it again and again and again. I will put the reference of the book in the comments. It is on Amazon, but I will put the link into the comments if you want to read that great book. Thank you for listening to BrightBond. If this episode spoke to you, share it with someone who needs it. Please don't hesitate to follow us and subscribe to our YouTube channel, BrightBond Official, by clicking the little bell. It's free and it will really help us. Please take good care of yourself and see you next time on BrightBond. And thank you, Rozalina, and bye for now.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you
Bye.
for having me. Bye.